Hello, hello, just Gem here and welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel. It's time for volume 20, I believe, of new and upcoming makeup releases. And I'm armed with my notes and my phone with some pictures, and as before, I shall just do a little swivel here and get comfortable. I've got a giant Stanley knockoff full of water to keep hydrated, because hydration is important, and normally I forget to drink. I'm really bad. Without further ado, let's get going. Right around the time that I filmed the last new makeup, Blend Bunny changed their logo, and we all know what that means. It means that they're gonna drop something pretty soon. And the latest drop is in the form of a collaboration with May Pang, whose handle is, I'm going to assume it's pronounced Microsoft. It's like a spin on Microsoft. The collection consists of an all matte 20 pan palette, and that's £42 or $42. A 6 pan iridescent mini palette, and that's £32, $32. And a blue tears lip glaze, and that's £15, $15. You can get the bundle for £89. Well, I don't know if the bundle is on Glisten, because the pounds amount I'm quoting is the price over on Glisten Cosmetics, but I know that there's a bundle on the Blend Bunny website which is $89, and it's on there just for ease, so that you don't have to put 3 individual items into your basket. So there's no discount on there, but I believe if you've got an influencer discount code it would take 10% off that bundle. When I saw the palette, I was a bit thrown. So I think I was thrown because it's a bit of a jumble. It's not very Blend Bunny-esque in that sense. There's no gradient and in the rows or the columns or quads like they normally do. And I stared at this palette and I stared at this palette, and you know when you really want to like something, you know when you like a brand and they release something and you just want to like everything that they come out with, and sometimes you can't always like everything. I forgot to say that it's the Rotten collection. I didn't mention that. Having said that, does the 6 pan palette have its own name? It may well do. Efflorescence. I really wanted to like it, and there is something somewhat appealing about it, and I really like the concept, you know, seeing the beauty in something ugly, mould. And I get it, and I can really appreciate that, and I think it's been executed perfectly, and I love the idea of the fact that the outer packaging has got some fuzziness to it to mimic that mould that you can get. I think there are a lot of people who perhaps would not like that at all if you've got issues like sensory issues with texture and stuff. But I couldn't get my head around the colour story, and maybe it was because of the gradient, because I was speaking to Susie, who's Red Panda Sue over on IG, and I think we both had the same thought, and she's rearranged it. So I'm showing her version of it, and I want to say someone else, Letitia, also rearranged it in similar but different way to the way that Susie did it, and though both of those versions are much easier for me to get my head around. It's almost a bit like the whole Gourmand Girls Calavera issue, where I looked at that palette and I didn't like it because I couldn't wrap my head around it. But the moment Susie sort of rearranged it for me, I don't know if she probably didn't do it for me, she probably did it for herself, but she shared the picture of it rearranged, and I was like, oh okay, no, I like that, and I bought it, and I love that. It's high up there in palettes. I really like that palette. So I wondered if it'd be the same, and though I can appreciate it more now it's rearranged, I'm still not chomping at the bit to get it. Something to note, it's an all matte palette and it's £42, $42. Sugar and Spite, that's £44/$44, and that's got 24 shades, 6 of which are shimmers. So don't get me wrong, Blend Bunny overall is a very affordable brand, but I just wonder how it's been priced considering the price of Sugar and Spite, which is 24 shades and 6 shimmers. And also just throwing it out there that Ellis is $42 and that's 30 matte shades. the same price, Ellis has 10 more shades. Now I don't know if that's a pigment thing. Maybe neutral shades are super cheap to make in comparison to shades that have more pigment and a variety of colours in them. Maybe that's it. On the face of it, you're not getting as much bang for your buck if you were going for the Maypang palette versus the Ellis palette. Just something to note. I like my palettes to have mattes. I'm not overly keen on an all matte palette. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't go for the original Ellis palette. I mean, not just, I did a video on why you don't need the Ellis palette. One of the reasons that I steered clear of it is because it's very matte heavy. I like to have a balance. I like to have shimmers in my palette. I don't like to necessarily have to reach for something else. If I want to, that's a different story. But I don't want to have to. Having an all matte palette and then a separate palette with the iridescence in, again, is something that's put me off. Would I get it down the line? Possibly. If it's ever on a massive heavy discount like plastic was at one point, because I have picked up plastic for £11, I'd be tempted. On release, it's not one of those ones where I've seen it and I think I need that and I need it now. On a sale, perhaps. Full price at release, no. The only thing I was remotely interested in was the gloss, actually, because that was a little bit different and that interested me. But I was so excited by the fact that Sugar and Spite was back on the website, and I already had a backup of 89 Fine in my basket, that I rushed to the website, added Sugar and Spite, checked out Quick Sharp, and then I was like, oh crap, the Maypang release comes out and I did want the gloss, and I'm not going to do another order for a £15 gloss. I'll just wait now until the next time I do an order on Glisten. That would be a pass for me. I can appreciate the collection. I can look at it and I can appreciate that it's a really nice collection, but it's just not really a collection for me, so it's quite an easy pass. Isamaya, I keep going back and forth over this. It's a bit like my experience with By Radio Bibliophilia at this moment. Bibliophilia? So one of those iterations. I think I've settled on not getting Bibliophilia, but then there's a part of me now that's starting to get anxious because it hasn't sold out yet. And I'm 99.9% sure that Mineralscapes had sold out by this point. From my recollection, Mineralscapes sold out fast. It was on Selfridges first, and I had it in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to the Selfridges store and I'll swatch it, maybe that will help me decide. I haven't gotten around to doing that. Then it dropped on the Byredo website. Odd that it dropped on a retailer first rather than Byredo's website itself. Unusual. It's 92 as opposed to 100. This is not meant to be me talking about Byredo, it's meant to be talking about Isamaya, but I don't know if I've spoken about Byredo that much. So the palette this year is 92 versus 100, which is what it was last year. So a bit cheaper. It's a bit nice bonus. I still don't know. Like, I love Mineralscapes. But I'm not feeling that draw. Like, I saw Mineralscapes and I was in awe. I was wowed. There are some releases you see and immediately you want them. That's how I felt about Mineralscapes. It's not how I feel about Bibliophilia. I'd probably say I'd pick it up on a sale. I don't think it's going to be around long enough to be on a sale, but I'm surprised it's been around for as long as it has. So now I'm really nervous that, because I'm obviously watching it, I'm keeping an eye on it, is it going to be one of those things where when it does sell out, I'm going to be like, oh, but I want it. I think the reason why I'm talking about Byredo in hand with Isamaya is because they're a very similar price point. So the Isamaya Core 1.0 and Core 2.0 are £95. I haven't bought anything from Isamaya before, so if I did go for one or both of these palettes, I would get 20% off, which is not bad. The one that I really want, well, the one that I would be leaning more towards is 2.0, and that's sold out. I did ask over on IG if it's going to be restocked, and they said yes, it would be. It's the inverse, like I keep comparing it to the Blend Bunny launch, but it's the opposite. It's an all shimmer palette. And you can do a look with all shimmers, you can do a look with all mattes, but a lot of the time you're going to want another palette to pair it with. I don't know if the Illamasqua palette, for example, would be something I would travel with. At least with the Maypang palette, it's magnetic, so you can switch things around. You know, you can pop out the mattes and you can pop in the iridescent shades. And I think it's easier to get away now with launching all matte palettes and all shimmer palettes if they are going to be magnetic and you're launching it as part of a collection. I think it's pretty clever, and I suspect we might end up seeing that a lot from Blend Bunny going forward. Let me see if Core 2.0 comes back, and then I'll make a decision. Illamasqua could be a maybe, but then the shape puts me off a little bit. Like, I'm boring. I don't like funny shapes. I think I've said this before. Like, just give me a rectangle or a square or a circle. Why are you giving me a kidney? And then within the kidney, it's just an array of different shapes and sizes of pans. That annoys me. It does. But can I get over that just to try it? To own it, to have it, possibly. Right, I've spent a lot of time talking about just 2 products. There's a lot to get through. I should hurry up. Another thing that was announced / revealed not long after the last new makeup release video I did was Pigments of the Arcane, and that's Sinful Echoes. The full collection is $100, and then you can get the palette for $55, and then there are some singles and they are $15 each. And the first thing I noticed about this is the similarities to the Wilderness palette. And I don't know that I'd have picked up on this if I hadn't just pulled out the Wilderness palette. I saw this and I thought, oh yeah, that's beautiful, love it. I could be tempted by that, I could be swayed. This might be my first Sinful Echoes purchase. And then I was like, hang on a minute, why does it look so familiar? And then I realised, those mattes, I think I've seen those mattes recently. Haven't I seen those mattes recently? Yeah, I have. Look. Beauty Bay Wilderness. I don't feel like I would need to get Sinful Echoes. Will there be some differences? Absolutely. But considering I already own Wilderness, and you can now get Wilderness on its own, by the way. Beauty Bay were pretty sly when they put it in the birthday bag and implied that you could only get it in the birthday bag, because I guess at the time you could, but they've now released it on its own for £16. I can dupe that. I can dupe Pigments of the Arcane to an extent. The shimmers, possibly not. They're always a bit trickier, but the mattes, yeah, absolutely. This is not the time for me to try Sinful Echoes, but I'll keep looking. Simply Posh Black Cherry. When I saw this, I thought, ooh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. I'm looking forward to this. And then I saw the reveal, and for a palette called Black Cherry, it's quite light, isn't it? I was expecting more depth, and this is, I think, the thing that puts me off Simply Posh Cosmetics a little bit. I really like the colour stories that they do, but because they have this light row, shimmer row, deep row, I always find that the light row is just a little bit too light for my preference. I can look at colour stories and I can think, oh, that's really pretty, but I just wish there were more mid-tones. There's darks and there's lights, and there's kind of nothing in between, because in between it's the shimmers. There is something about that colour story that I really like. I do like that combination of sort of mauvey with that pop of green. I think that's a really beautiful combination. But this isn't something I would go for. I just thought it would have more depth overall. The last palette they released, there were no embossings in that. I don't know why, but we've got them back again in the form of some little cherries on there, so that's quite nice. $55 or £41.24. Noteworthy mention, but an easy pass for me. I don't know if Simply Posh is something now that I would ever go for, just because of the format. There are only a couple of shades in that light road that I'd truly reach for. And when you're paying $55 or £42.24, you want to be able to use 90% of a palette minimum. Crown Legacy, I think I mentioned this, but we haven't had the full reveal. So we've had the full reveal now. It's going to drop on Monolith. Well, by the time this goes up, it's already dropped on Monolith. It's £44. And I couldn't help but notice the resemblance to Coalescence, which is the collab between Bella Beauté Bar and Newport. What I will say though is that Newport's palette has more vibrancy, and then Crown Legacy has a couple of neutrally shades, and then it's also got some blues in there. So that's how they differ. What I plan to do, I might film it after this actually, is a bit of a scratch that itch, drawing elements of both. I think there's room to have both, definitely, especially if you like both formulas. I'm not getting either, because when I film the scratch that itch, I think you'll see why I don't need either. But I was drawn to both, and I think it's because I'm a lover of like blue, purple, green, and obviously there's no blues in Coalescence, but I think I've got both covered, so I wouldn't need to get either. That is on Monolith now, if you would be interested in that. Lethal Cosmetics has just dropped the Conjuring collection. There's different sets. I was trying to work out exactly what was in each set, but there's a Dark Enchantment set, which is £111, or an Occult Museum set, which is £213. The palette on its own is £47. It's only 12 pans. I feel like £47 for a 12 pan palette is a lot. There's a highlighter, the Music Box highlighter, and that's £19. There are two lippies, £17 each. Annabelle's Curse and Valak's Vengeance. It means nothing to me. I've not seen anything from this franchise at all. The Sanctified Seal setting powder, that's £17. There are these liner stamp duos, those are £12. Black Mass, Demon's Mark, and Hide and Clap. There are some nail polishes. I think they're £13 or £14. I think one of them is 13, the rest are 14, or maybe vice versa. Last Rites, Seance, Lorraine, The Haunting, Faith, or you can get the bundle of nail polishes, and that's £64.50. Then there's a Blood Drop Primer, £16. And there's a bundle, it did have a name but I haven't written it down, I sound like I'm on countdown, £49.50, and that's the primer, the powder and the highlighter. Maybe if The Conjuring was something I was into, I'd be more drawn to this collection. When I initially saw the palette reveal, I was interested until I saw more pictures, and even less so once I saw the price. I'm not spending £42 on a 12 pound palette, absolutely not. And the colour story is a bit more muted than I would like. A bit like with the Maypang collection, I can kind of appreciate it, but it's not my kind of colour story, so there's nothing in that collection that I would get. Shades of London. This is a brand I'd never come across before, but they popped up on my feed randomly. I can't remember, maybe someone reposted, because I'm starting to see a lot more things now that I perhaps would have missed otherwise. They have these 3 neutral palettes, and they're just called, I think, Shades 1, Shade 2, Shade 3. And they're £22 each, or you can get all 3 of them for £55. I was drawn to them. I had a look because I seem to be very, very much in my neutral era right now, and I keep eyeing neutral palettes. I think there's only one of them that I am interested in, the one that's got more pinky tones in it. I don't know, maybe out of curiosity I could try one, but a part of me is like, £22, it's a decent price. I'd be curious because it's a brand I haven't come across. I think they were around before, like looking at their Instagram feed, they were posting before, then they seem to have a bit of a hiatus, and they've come back with these 3 palettes. £22 is not bad. And out of curiosity, I did put the bundle in my basket, and it did say that shipping was free, £55 and over, but it was still charging me shipping. I don't know why. I don't know. I'll see. I might do a search a bit later on YouTube and see if anyone's picked these up, because I'd be curious to know what people think, because I'd not come across them before. Or maybe I take one for the team in this scenario. I'm feeling my neutral colours. Maybe I go for it. Melt Cosmetics 12th hour. It's like a 12-hour collection. I think they're celebrating their 12th birthday. So they've released a stack. And can anyone guess what I'm going to say about this stack? The bottom of the stack I like because of the depth. The top 2 or 3 stacks I don't think I'd reach for enough to warrant purchasing the whole stack. I'd use the shimmers, perhaps. So all the shimmers I would use in this stack, but all the mattes, I don't know. Some of them are either too light or not the kind of tones I would go for. I think there's only 2 duos in that stack that I think I'd really enjoy, and I'll indicate which one they are. I don't think I'd want to get the stack, and the stack is, I mean, it's $58 as well. And then you've got the Ember Gel Liner, $22, and then you can get the bundle for $69. The gel liner is a colour I don't think I'd use either. And if I was interested in getting a colour like that, I think I'd go to Glisten rather than to Melt. So that would be a no from me. Davini Beauty Siempre Viva. So there's a palette and some lashes and a gloss, I believe. So the whole bundle is $119. The palette is $64. Then there's a smaller bundle which is just the palette and the gloss, and that's $78. And then the lashes, there's a set called Lumi, $14, and a set called Elixir, and those are $10. As a purple lover, I can appreciate this palette. It's definitely very pretty. I like it, but not enough to buy it. Yeah, so just looking at this swatched out, like, it's really pretty. I do really like it, but yeah, just not enough to take the plunge. And if it's funny, now I'm looking at it, it's reminding me a little bit of Bella Beauté Bar's upcoming release. Like, it's got that, Bella Beauté Bar one has got the purples, a tiny bit of blue, and it's got that yellow thing going on here. Or maybe I should put these side by side and you can let me know what you think. Bella Beauté Bar is listed a bit lower because it's more recently been announced, but I guess I can jump to that now. I don't know the pricing apart from the lipsticks. I know that they're $16, but the palette, the liners, the gloss, the loose pigments, I don't know. Bella Beauté Bar is one of the more expensive indie brands though, so I'd put the palette maybe around the $70 mark, something like that. And when I saw this, I did think to myself, yes, I want that. That's nice. I was drawn to that, but not so much this Davini one. And now I'm kind of thinking about them, and I don't have them side to side in front of me, but they are on screen side to side. There are similarities, but I'm more drawn to Bella Beauté Bar. Having said that, I was looking at Deandra's stories, and I think a lot of people, I've seen some of it, but a lot of people I think were coming for Bella Beauté Bar saying they're duping themselves or they're copying or whatever. Like, I noticed it too when I saw it. I was like, oh, that looks a bit like the BYOP that Newport did. But obviously this was created and in production way before Newport did that. So that's just a coincidence that that's happened. You know, to jump to the conclusion that Bella Beauté Bar have copied Newport is extreme because of the production times in place for products like this. And then I think they were comparing it to other palettes within there, and yeah, there are similarities, but I wouldn't go as far as to say they were duping themselves, because they are different. And I think one of the similarities was to Ocean Jewel, it appealed to me, but again, not enough to pick it up. Plus, I duped enough of that to satisfy my potential desire for that palette. I did scratch that itch for that one. And then as I was looking at Deandra's story and she was doing these comparisons, I was like, oh no, but I do actually like the depth in Ocean Jewel. I'm all about the depth. I'll keep banging on about it. I'm like a broken record. I like the depth in that. I like the range of that palette, but I prefer the colour story of Dark Dreamscape. And considering it's called Dark Dreamscape, it's quite a light palette actually. I was thinking, and I think I pictured it darker in my head. Like I saw the purples, I was like, oh yeah, that's a lovely sort of deep, dark colour story. But then swatched out actually, it's nowhere near as deep as I kind of either thought it would be or pictured in my head it would be. But I think like a little mishmash, like a weird, like a combination of Ocean Jewel and Dark Dreamscape would be my ideal palette. And then Deandra showed some swatches comparing Dark Dreamscape and Basic Witch. And now I think I don't want either of those. I don't want Ocean Jewel or Dark Dreamscape. I think it's Basic Witch I want, because it combines all the bits I kind of like about both. And that Bella Beauté Bar collection it's chunky. There's a lot going on in there. The palette, the lippies, the liners, the gloss, the loose pigments, and a highlighter. That's a lot. And I think there's 8 liners. I'll show Deandra. Deandra's got like quite a lengthy reel when she's going through the collection actually. It's very comprehensive because it swatches the lippies, the liners, the gloss, everything basically. And I know the highlighter is one of those. It doesn't have a base, so if you've got a deeper skin tone, and you know sometimes you get that cast. Some of those lippies do look quite nice. I could be tempted, I could be swayed by some of those lipsticks, especially some of the darker ones. I might wait and see if Deandra does some lip swatches, because I'd be very curious, and then I'll see how much everything is when it comes to Monolith. But now I'm going to have to keep an eye on Basic Witch to see if that goes on sale on Monolith, because I think that's what I need. That's what I want, Basic Witch. ABH Embers. I don't know if I'm just sort of biased now with ABH and I'm just over the brand, because I saw this, and despite the fact that I'm very much in my neutral era and I'm loving all the neutrals at the moment, I looked at it and I thought, boring, 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 boring. Just no. Going by the mini sultry and the similar ones that they've done before, $29 maybe. And someone said, I think I'm not the only one who's maybe over ABH and is just maybe bagging them unnecessarily at this point. No, not unnecessarily. They've made some blunders when it comes to their shade ranges and whatnot. But I think I'm not the only one who's had that thought, because someone commented saying, I don't get why everyone's so down on this. Like, people should be happy because it's a bit like the ABH and Mario collab. And then I looked it up and I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, that's fair. But then for me personally, I'm not drawn to that either. I remember watching YouTube back in the day and people would go through their collections, maybe filming a declutter, and they'd pull out this palette and talk about how they would never declutter it. And I think it's partly because it's one of the original ABH palettes. I don't know if it's something I would have ever been drawn to. While I am liking my neutrals, that palette and the Embers palette aren't quite hitting the spot for me. There hasn't been anything that ABH has come out with for a while that I've been interested in getting, to be honest. It's all missed the mark for me, and Embers is no exception. I don't know, maybe I'll see more swatches and a few reviews and my opinion might change, but I don't think it would change enough for me to part with my money and pick it up. Gourmand Girls. They've just dropped Trapped and they're about to drop something else, Nevermore. Apparently was it Boston? Baltimore? I've forgotten which bee related place it's meant to be linked to in America. I read it and now it's escaping my brain. It also puts me in mind of Addams Family, because isn't Nevermore the school in the Wednesday series? I think so. This looks like it would appeal to me more than Trapped has. Not that I didn't like Trapped, but there was something... Do you know what I mean? But sometimes you can see a palette and you can appreciate it and you think it's really, really pretty, but there's not enough for you to buy it. There's not enough of a draw. And it might be, you'll look at a palette and you'll think, or even just a product in general, a highlighter, a blush, whatever it is, and you think, I want it, I need it, and you go and buy it, you check out, you wait for the launch, you do it instantly. And there are other things where you think, oh, I quite like it, maybe for a sale, and then other times it's like, oh yeah, it's pretty, but no, I think that's kind of how I feel a little bit about Trapped. Maybe on a discount. And I'm, even for Nevermore, I'm still waiting for the full reveal. We've only seen a bit of a sneak peek at the moment. Pending a full reveal and more information on a UK warehouse, or that's going to make it more easily accessible in the UK, and then I'll sort of think about it. But I think it would be, say that's Trapped, Nevermore is here. I don't know how much it is. I mean, as I say, we've not even had the reveal, but just based on Trapped, it'll be maybe £43 or $55.99. Charlotte Tilbury face palettes. I don't even know why I'm even mentioning these. I think I'm mentioning them because I saw it and I saw the packaging and I thought, okay, that's nice packaging. Especially after the dismal packaging that they had for those 9-pan palettes, the ones that looked as if you took away the logo, you would have assumed it was Revolution Beauty that had released it. They elevated the packaging for these face palettes. There's two of them, like a light and a... Well, I'm going to call it medium because this is sure as hell not deep. That wouldn't do anything on my skin tone. Definitely room for a third and even a fourth. Packaging-wise, I'll give it to you, Charlotte. That's nice. Contents of the actual face palette? No. I don't even know. I think that second one is described as being deep. In what universe? Because it sure as hell isn't this one. And it's £58. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised it's Charlotte Tilbury, but I don't know, £58. No. More duos from Patrick Tar, and they're $42. Again, it would be a no. I can see that they're pretty. I don't know that these are duos that are worth $42 for. I've not seen any swatches yet. They've got Slow Burn, Burgundy Sparkles, Always on Your Mind, Slate Sparkle, When the Sun Sets, Peach Sparkles, and In Your Dreams, Diamond Sparkles. Like if someone gave me one and was like, here Gem, have some Patrick Tar duos, I'd be like, oh yeah, thanks. Because I'd be curious, I'd try it, but I wouldn't spend my money on them. I think there was an issue, maybe they've improved the formula, because I know there was an issue with the ones that came out before, I think with them just falling out the palans and just not being that great. I think there was a time where on Cult Beauty where they were pretty significantly reduced, and I was tempted. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll try it, but then I thought, well, no, because there's a reason they've been that significantly reduced, not that long after launch. So I didn't bother, and I don't think I will now. Going back to Beauty Bay, they've got these blush duos that look good, and I'm annoyed at myself because they've got a deal on for 25% off, and these blush duos were also 3 for 2. And I created my basket, and then obviously I got distracted, and I got into bed later that night, and I went to check out, and one of them was out of stock, and I'd put 3 in there, and I'd gone through, and I'd picked 3 based on getting a good range, because some of them seem a bit similar. I've taken them out of my basket for now, but I'll keep an eye on those. So the duos are a cream side and a matte side, and for a tenner, especially if they're going to be 3 for 2 occasionally, they they would be something I wouldn't mind trying. Do I need more blush? Absolutely not. No. But they look good. And for £10, 3 for 2, I'd try them. Because there was a peachy one. I'm still... To be fair, I think I've got like the peachy orangey tones I want now from Trigwell. But can always keep hunting, right? Yeah, can always keep hunting. Pat McGrath. Now, this is funny because sometimes people will send me something and it says, oh, this content is not available. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And then I remember it's because Pat McGrath has blocked me. But then I just find it then on Trendmood or Makeup on Your Radar or something like that instead. Pat McGrath's holiday collection is out. And it looks alright. Do you know, if I was still buying Pat McGrath products, I might get this. And then I went on the website and I was having a look because like Critical Beauty 411, Jean was posting stories and, you know, debating herself whether she was going to pick something up. And then she started posting these items with ridiculous prices. So Judith Lieber Couture Golden Crystal Minaudière, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, for £6,493. And there's a whole bunch of these excessively priced products. So a bag charm, a comb, a key ring. And I suspect that maybe there was one of each of these things because they're all sold out now. So I don't really know what that was about. Going back to the collection itself, there's the 12-pan Gilded Nirvana Mega Eyeshadow Palette. And that looks to be mostly shimmers with maybe 2 mattes. I can't tell. I quite like Pat's holiday releases. And this is £67. I wonder how big the pans are. Like I'm trying to picture in my mind how big the palette would be and then how big the palettes would be. So are they bigger pans? I don't know. Yeah, £67. I think there will be one of those 10%, you know, like maybe it's Gilded 10 might be the code to get 10% off at launch. And then the Gold 001, that's made a comeback, £49, or it is going to come back. And then they've got 3 blush duos and they're £30 each. And then a Gold 001 Luxe Chrome eyeshadow stick, which is coming soon. So I don't know if that was in stock and sold out. I'm not going to buy any of it. I might have been tempted by the palette itself because I'm always tempted by an eyeshadow palette. But no, I don't think I want to spend £67 on that. I'd be keen to see reviews of it and proper swatches because we all know what those Pat McGrath online swatches are like. They're just never true to life. So I'd be curious to see people review it and do swatches and see what it actually looks like. But on the whole, no. Would I have bought it if I was still a Pat support? Like, I don't get a Pat. I'm a supporter of the brand, not so much. Would I get this even if I was still a Pat McGrath Labs fan? Not on launch. I'd wait for swatches and then I'd probably wait until it's 30% off, or in that, you know, it's either, I can't remember if the breakdown is 25, 30, 35, or if it's 30, 35, 40, depending on how much you spend. Pat McGrath always does those sales. So it's probably something where I'd have waited until it was in that discount before I picked it up, but not something I would have bought at launch. So noteworthy mention, Flower Beauty, which is Drew Barrymore's brand, is closing. And I'm not overly surprised. Like, I didn't read that and think, oh, that's a terrible shame. I've seen it pop up, but I've never really seen it being raved about or seen lots of marketing for it, or, you know, with most brands and products, you'll see them popping up. Flower Beauty was just never that brand. And I never bought anything from them. I looked at their stuff and I thought now and again, that's nice, that's pretty, but meh. If anything, I'm surprised it's lasted as long as it did, to be honest. I don't know, have you bought anything from Flower Beauty? Have you seen the news and thought to yourself, oh, that's a shame? I mean, it's a shame for Drew Barrymore. I can't even think of anything that they've released to name it for you. Like, I can't think to yourself, oh, that's a shame because, you know, maybe I'd have eventually got round to trying their Wonder Gloss. I don't know if they've got a Wonder Gloss, but just as an example. Fair play to the brand for staying open as long as it did, to be perfectly honest. Last, but by no means least, Nomad Cosmetics Pacific Northwest. I haven't looked at it yet, so you're going to see my live reaction to the full reveal. We've seen a lot of it. From what I've seen so far, I don't know is the genuine answer. Judging by the shape of the palette, it's going to be one of the 18 pans. And we have already seen 10 of the shades. And from looking at those 10, I'm wondering if, for my personal preference, if it maybe is going to be a bit too similar to Ghost Town USA. I don't know. They could be completely different, but just looking at these, I'm getting ever so slight Ghost Town USA vibes. It could be that they would just make really great companion palettes. That might be what it is. There's a shade here with a dolphin on it. Love that shade. I think that's going to be beautiful. And blended out with the shade that's next to it in this picture, I think would be really nice. And those shimmers, to be fair, they do look good. I think it's going to depend on the full reveal. Should we look at it? Yeah, I'm immediately thinking Ghost Town. Like, if I cover up Perfect Pinot, I do get very Ghost Town, but I think it's more in a they go together rather than they're the same. Should I get Ghost Town now? Brief moment for the lenticular motion there of Ghost Town. There's Ghost Town there, and I'd say that's not bad. That's pretty true to colour, I would say. It's not too washed out. Maybe it's potentially a tiny bit brighter. So it fills in gaps. I'd say they pair, but I don't know if I would want to have both. But then, having said that, if I didn't have Ghost Town, I think I would probably go for Pacific Northwest. Oh, I don't know. Dolphin shade I mentioned, that's a bit like Dead Man's Hand. And I do like that Pinot, Perfect Pinot shade. This is interesting. I think this would be a sale purchase. Like, I wouldn't buy it now. I mean, I wasn't going to buy it now anyway because I've got a bone to pick with Nomad. I waited to buy the Witch City palette because I wasn't sure if I was going to be at home or in London. But then not long after I'd ordered, they announced that they were dropping another palette, which is this palette that's just been released, Pacific Northwest. And I thought, to allow your customers to sort of plan purchases, would you not give them a bit of a heads up that a palette is coming so soon after a collection? It's a bit like what Gourmand Girls have done, which, funny enough, I'm not annoyed about that because I didn't pick up Trapped. But if you've picked up Trapped and then I don't know though, I think Gourmand Girls might have said that they were going to be releasing something relatively soon after that. But then I don't know if that's something that was mentioned on a live that I happened to join. I have this thing in the back of my mind that I was aware that Gourmand Girls were going to be releasing something not long after Trapped. Shipping for me is pretty expensive. Depending on what I'm purchasing, it's actually worthwhile just buying straight from America, and shipping is $25 at a time. So I make a judgment call when I'm doing that. So when I paid $25 for the 3 anniversary palettes, I was like, fine, absolutely. It's 3 palettes. It was on a introductory bundle offer, and you know, if you distribute $25 across 3 palettes, it makes it worthwhile. And again, I thought about it. That's another reason I held fire with which city. I thought, do I want to wait? And then I thought, oh no, I do want this palette, and Halloween's coming. It would be quite nice to do some Halloweeny based looks in October coming up. I'll get it now. But I just wasn't expecting another release to drop so soon. This is nice, and I think if I didn't have Ghost Town, this would be an immediate yes. But because I do, I'm hesitating. I might wait and see how many other people who have got this in PR see the resemblance and compare it, and then I'll make a call. But I'll be waiting for a sale for this. I'll probably wait. Maybe what I'll do now is I'll just sit tight and wait until I've got 3 palettes from Nomad that I want and buy them in one go. I do like this. There is definitely room to have both. I just don't know if I personally would want both, unless maybe when I see people using it and maybe the comparisons. It's nice though, as I mean, I like green. I'm not a fan of the shade Pacific Crest. That's not the kind of green I like. But Olympic Mountains and then Leaping Orcas, the kind of tealy, the bluey green, that's a really nice shade. So watch this space. Yes, if money want to object, but let's wait for a sale and swatches. That's everything that I wanted to cover. I was just waiting patiently for the Nomad reveal. If I go on YouTube now, there's going to be a mad flurry of everyone uploading their videos, isn't there? What I might do is, while this is rendering, I'm going to watch a review or two of the latest Nomad release. What are you picking up? I think now that I did just buy Sugar and Spite, because I've been waiting on that since it was discontinued, basically. And as soon as, I was going to call her Nancy, where'd I get Nancy from? As soon as Maggie announced that Sugar and Spite was coming back, I've been waiting, so I knew I was going to get that. But now I think I'm storing up most purchases until Black Friday. Like, I did order something from Beauty Bay yesterday, or in the wee hours of this morning, because it was 25% off, and that included the Danessa Myricks setting spray, so I did buy that. But I think when it comes to palettes, and especially like indie palettes, I'm not buying anything until Black Friday now. I'm going to store it all up, make a little list, and decide. There might be a few possible exceptions, like Illamasqua. If 2.0 comes back and I think to myself, do you know what, just get it, then I'll pick that up. And as I say, I'm still considering By Radio Bibliophilia. Possibly. As I say, let me know if you're picking anything up. Are you like me? Are you sitting tight now until Black Friday and sales in general? Or are there some things that you can't wait, you're too impatient for, and you're just going to buy it? Maybe Nomad's latest release, Pacific Northwest. Maybe that's on your wish list for now. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I also hope to see you again in a video in the not too distant future. Take care. Bye. Efflorescence. Gosh, that's a tongue twister word, isn't it? So the palette's called Rotten, and the 6-pan is called still can't say it. Efflorescence. Now her name's just gone out of my head. Oh my word. Oh my god, what is the owner of Blend Bunny called? I can see her. She just had a birthday. Maggie. Good lord. Maggie, Nancy. What was I saying?